What's going on, guys? I want to bring you another quick shop tip video, and this one's going to be on a nice and cheap alternative to a knife maker's vise, or another method that you can use to secure your blades while you're hand sanding them or hand rubbing the finish. And there's a number of ways that this can be utilized. I normally like to do it before I put the handles on or put the blade into a folding frame, depending on what I'm working on. But you can also have this oriented in such a way that you can secure your knives to it with the handles on if you like doing hand sanding and hand rubbing on the handles as well. And I'll talk about some securing methods towards the end of this video. But as you can see here, it's really quite a simple setup, and kind of remove the extra stuff here. But all it really is just a 2x4 piece of scrap wood and a C-clamp secured to the side of my bench here. And it could really be any size scrap of wood, 1x, 2x, anything that you can split or kind of trim down or shape down to whatever you may need. But personally, I found that a 2x4 just squared off is normally enough to do what I needed to do as far as holding my blades. And what I like to do is set it up in front of a chair and kind of lower it down to about knee level on the workbench. And that's strictly a personal preference. You could certainly raise it up if you prefer standing while working. And you don't even have to use a C-clamp. You could even use some wood screws or something like that. But I think a C-clamp gives it a little bit more versatility, a little bit quicker adjustment. And it can be set up and taken down without marring up your workbench or anything else. So kind of to give you the perspective here, this is how I like to work. And again, it's right about knee level or a little bit higher. And gives you just a real nice orientation here for really kind of getting into your work and not hurting your back or getting tired feet or anything like that. Now, one thing to consider, the clamping orientation is pretty important here. You want to have the C-frame of the clamp underneath the wood that you're securing your blade to, but also in front of the workbench leg or whatever you're clamping to, as that gives it a nice surface to lock everything down real securely. And with a clamp like this, I could probably stand up on top of this and not have it move or drop down on me. And it's quite secure and stable. But the reason I do it that way is because there's really not a lot of surface area on these clamps, and they kind of act as somewhat of a hinge if oriented in the wrong way. And you can see just with a little bit of pressure, that hinges up pretty easily on me. So if I had that clamp going over the top or behind that, it'd be pretty easy to push down or move back and forth. And this way it just locks in really nice against the front of the bench and the bottom of this board, and you have no problems holding it where it needs to go. Now, another quick tip I'll go ahead and throw here on the end of this is some sanding stick options. I do have some custom made sticks that I've made for getting a little bit more pressure, a little bit more weight onto the blade. And this works quite well. I got a little piece of inner tube rubber on there to give it just a little bit of give. But probably the one that I go back to the most when hand sanding is just a simple popsicle or craft stick. And you see, just wrap a little piece around there, and you can get up nice and tight to it, get into real tight corners like your punch line. And even if you needed to shave that corner down a little bit to get into something even tighter, you could do that. Or I sometimes square the ends off and wrap it over the end, and then I can kind of use my finger to go right where I need to go as well for real precise work. So another real quick and cheap option for you. And as I mentioned before about securing the blades, I like to just run a screw through the pivot hole or pinhole, whatever I have available on the blade. You could also make a type of finger clamp like a machinist would use on a milling table or whatnot, and that would just be a piece of wood or micarta or what have you, even steel. that you put over the top of the blade. Maybe put a little spacer on the back and run a screw through the middle there, and that kind of hold it down like a finger style clamp. You could even take some wood screws and another chunk of 2x4 and just kind of screw it down like a clamp as well. And even just using another C-clamp around the blade and the board would be an option for you. So a number of ways you can do that. Maybe not as quick and convenient as a vise, but still a very good option in my opinion, and something that almost everybody has or has access to, and it really doesn't cost you anything. So I hope you enjoyed this tip. Any comments, questions, please leave them below. Thumbs up if you liked the video, and stay tuned for the next one. One last thing I meant to mention before, I'll go ahead and tack the sign at the end of the video before I upload it. But normally I have this clamp rotated 180 degrees where the handle's sticking out on this side. But you could still do it here. I just have some stuff in the way on the bench. But this also gives you a nice little peg for hanging your spray bottles. So I like to use Windex for cutting solution when hand sanding. Works very well for keeping the paper clean and the blade clean. This hangs right on the end of there. It keeps it at hand's reach and is very accessible. And you can even stack other stuff on the back of the 2x4 like your other sanding sticks. And it just makes a really nice little workstation for you for hand sanding blades. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching.